Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to another album review Saturday show. This is episode 18, and more importantly, our 300th video. Doesn't even sound right by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think YouTube counted wrong, so I'll have to, say that's what it is. 300. Album reviews.
Congratulations.
Album Reviews Saturdays. This show is an extension, obviously, of the article section of the same name on beyondyourradio.com. Yeah, the speak writing unedited version, so to speak. I do both because I always hope one of the panelists will join us for these video ones. And of course, we have the lovely Dam joining us again and sporting new wear. Let's see if anybody can guess who it might have come from. Yes, and now Deb can check mark the "I'll never wear a Grateful Dead" t-shirt off on her bucket list, along with what? Would you say bowling shoes?
Yeah, I never
A
owned
pair of
bowling
bowling
shoes.
shoes.
I attribute that to my father-in-law. He considered himself a success with that, so I was right up there with him. I don't want to offend
Especially,
bowlers.
no, we don't
No,
know.
no.
Especially when we
In
had such a
Buffalo.
good time with the Ohio Players
That's
Club
right.
there with
That's
the
right.
Black Keys.
That's right.
So you get Deb's perspective on these albums rather than just my stuck up kind of approach to music and all that I listened to, which I had some problems this week. And well, anyway, another big video on the channel too is that we're now at 100 subscribers. I know, it sounds pathetic considering the monstrous other people that have like they do videos on how to clean your gutter and they have 400,000 people. But it's something for us. We don't advertise. We don't even
Right.
like each other. So it's amazing that it's even this
Yay.
far. But I can't believe it, our little channel, right?
Yeah.
This is the time, this is the channel, this is the place. It's super magical. El Magnifico. You 100, you. Yeah, you move me. You move us all. So now let's hit some new albums while we're doing this instead of getting all gushy and I'm gonna cry. On the site this Saturday, the return of Better Than Ezra with Super Magic, although they couldn't figure out how to spell magic. 16 years later, it's the Zootons and their
Hmm.
new album, The Big Decider. I don't know who decided to wait 16 years, but it was a big decision. Infinite River, Tabula Rasa from Detroit. Because, damn it, you got to have somebody from Detroit now with Kiss out the way. So that's what we got. So let's get right on down to it. Um, Better Than Ezra comes in. I have been a huge. Well, let me get this. We picked these albums. I didn't listen to them ahead of time, and that's six because we have three more for you afterwards again. So it gets difficult sometimes to predict whether or not this is going to go like it should. You know, so this first band, you know, kind of a staple of the '90s, had their moment with the song called Good, and it kind of stayed and so I think it was Deluxe was the name of the record, and it was not their debut. It was that was their major label debut, and it's a really good record. But it fits that '90s, we'll call it adult alternative, contemporary
Yeah.
adult alternative. It's not going to push any buttons. So one of the writers, I don't know, it was Rolling Stone or something like that, made this kind of a snippy comment that said they're a low impact cheesy pop. And I went, gosh, that's kind of rude. I don't think it's cheesy by any means. But then again, my first real love for them, I got Deluxe because I'm a music junkie. It was out, I buy it, I listen to it again, and then maybe it disappeared amongst the shelf. But it was one more murder that got me back to them, and that came from the X-Files soundtrack. So,
Oh.
and it was a little bit darker of a song, and it had a little bit more mood, and it wasn't as guitar-y. No,
Mhm.
that's not a new game system made by Guam. So, so that caught my ear, and then it brought me back. But the big thing here is they've been doing this for nearly 40 years. They're
Hmm.
not the Rolling Stones. They're not Paul McCartney, but they've managed to find a hook and a delivery and something that works. So I don't mind this low impact, but I'm going to tell you what I believe the low impact meant, the how it's fairly stated, I believe. Although the person I think meant it as a dig. Um, they got ballads, but the delivery of Kevin Griffin is there in those songs like This Time, was it Grateful? They all have this potential for this bombastic thing to happen, like it to take it up a notch, but it never goes there. The songs are written that way, but they really never ever go there. And I always find that that's kind of cool. And then it's not to me. That's why I fall in and out of love with it. I like Grateful has this potential to be building to an Imagine Dragon like kind of sound,
Hmm.
and it holds in that lesser impact. And then there's that groovier, the song Sensation, which could have been served on a more NXS like chorus. And it doesn't go there. It stays within their wheelhouse, that lesser impact. But hang on, it's really unique edge that they have. It's a hook. It's an odd hook, but it works for me. It works for the harmonies. The overall flow of every record is genuinely right there. And but I would like it one time. Just push it. I want to take it to that next level, you know. So for me, there's one song on there that I'll get back to after Deb gives her comment and see where we're at. Where were you on Better Than Ezra?
Well, I don't consider myself a 61-year-old woman. I couldn't believe that they've been around for 40 years because then when I went, well, yeah, if I go back to how long I've known them, well, yeah, it makes sense, right?
Right?
Um, it's kind of hard for me to recall a time in my adulthood since being a mom that they weren't around. I just took them for granted. I when there's a song, and I go, oh, who is it? Oh, it's Better Than Ezra. But I always like my fun facts. I wanted to know where'd they get this name from?
Yeah.
Well, it's just a theory. It's just a theory. They won't reveal exactly where it came from, but the theory is that there's a quote or a line in an Ernest Hemingway book saying it revolves around annoying noises and no worse than other noises, certainly better than Ezra learning to play the bassoon. Now, as a band kid and knowing my parents had to listen to me squeak on that clarinet, I'm like, yeah, I like that. That's kind of cool. So that's what I'm going to go with because I like
Oh,
that explanation.
yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. I read about their influences, REM, the Pixies, the Smiths, which I found kind of interesting. But this album, there was a lot of storytelling, I think, hard on the sleeve type things if you really pay attention to the lyrics, a little more so. Their melodies were very catchy, I thought, kind of stick with you. I liked the two songs that I really liked, and I told you, Mark, I didn't have as much time to listen to these albums over and over again. So I'm sure if I re-listen to it, this might change. But I liked Live a Little and Killing It. I like those two
Mhm.
songs a lot. And so definitely Better Than Ezra. This was by far of the albums that we had this week was my favorite one.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. And I can,
Uh-huh.
considering what you said and the timing to listen, we'll get to that because there were, yes, I agree.
Okay.
Now I don't
Okay.
may I don't maybe agree with which is the better album. I'm still
Okay.
working on that.
I
Um,
have a feeling I know what the second one is, so
yeah,
we'll get
yeah.
there, right?
So what creative song to song sound on the album, right? We got the ballad here and a little there, but then we got a rock twanger, a groovy pop rocker. We've got then we got a bluesy Beckian song called
Yep.
Bad Communication.
What? Bad communication, tongue-tied in your mouth. If you moved in my direction, bet your words spill right out. Don't it feel right? Talk to me.
Which
Yes.
rides on a percussive tempo rather than and a bass line, and then has a lovely change of vocal pace. which is nice to hear
Uh-huh.
from him. So that one struck me, and of course, they drop in a saxophone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, push that, slap that impact bitch some. Yes, do it because it's necessary. So I was like, cool, yeah, that's where it is. 35th year together, holy shit, you're doing something different. They have enough magic on Super Magic to make the right impact to anyone's musical ear, and they are killing it here 34 years from their actual debut and 32 years since Deluxe. So imagine them not stopping anytime soon, and maybe at a place near you to be seen. I would go. I have not seen the band ever. I think it would be worth the
Yeah.
expenditure, as long as it's not a huge expenditure. But we'll have more on that on another show.
Yes.
All right, so let's go to Liverpool. Does anybody
Mm,
say that? Let's go to Liverpool.
no, not me.
So the Zootons or the Zootons, I might be wrong. Club pop, clap and groove from the moment of their debut when it hit the streets there. Now it got here in the States, I want to say much later, and I got my hands on it real cheap, prowling the used bins. But I assume that's because the reach of the music across this type of music coming across the pond doesn't usually move too many albums or get much radio play. It's unfortunate because it shares some similarities and sounds like Earth, Wind, and Fire, Sly and the Family Stone,
Mhm.
which, not too many bands emulate that these days. There's a lot of quality music playing coming in and out of the songs, so well as the instruments that they're playing are beautifully done too. The Big Decider cover doesn't really give this a fair representation visually of what the sounds are. I kind of thought, Jesus, are they doing an electronica album? Is this their 4.0 version? But I'll let that slide. Now let me tell you that I was digging this record to start, not exactly blown away, but you have to realize it's been several years, 16 since I heard a record from them, really. So there's a lot of quality to it. One of the things that took me a little bit to get is to remember how much saxophone that they rely heavily on the sax, and that's where there's one track where you get that. I started to remember them, and I'm trying to remember. It's after Water. No, it's after Disappear. Disappears the track, and
Just buy your ticket here.
it's the longer of the tracks, and in the middle everything changes and the sax comes in, you get a bass line, they nail down some production cool things in the background, and then oh yeah, you get the smooth talk, the big universal question: why? So why should you listen to the Zootons, Deb?
Well, I never heard of them, so we know from other shows that's not unusual. So I wanted to learn about them a little bit, and I didn't hear this so much, but their influences were like the Talking Heads and Devo. Maybe more so their other influences, the Dexys, Midnight Runners. I can kind of feel that a little bit in some of their songs, but not so much. Were described as psychedelic cartoon rock. Interesting.
That's an interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And they took their name from a guitarist who played with Magic Band, who his nickname was Zoot Horn. And that
Yes.
is that true? Okay.
Yes, that is.
I didn't have
Yeah, I
my
believe
fact
that is to
checking.
be true. I think that's on
Okay.
the inside album cover of what I have, something of that
Okay.
nature. Because
Interesting.
the
Because
whole
I'm
thing was
well.
like their first record was "Who Killed the Zootons," right? So
Oh, okay. All right. So, I getting back to that album cover, this supposedly the theme of this album is about gambling and games of chance and which decision you're going to make. And that cover kind of looks like a maze to me. And which turn are you going to take so you can get to where you need to go? I don't know. That's just what I got out of it. That's kind of my metaphor, whatever. Um, it was okay. It's not my kind of thing. I did like the opening track Creeping on the Dance Floor.
Yeah.
So it did at least interest me enough to listen to it the rest of the way through. I
Mhm.
can't say anything bad. I can't say anything spectacular about it. And I again apologize for not being able to listen more. So I'm going to let you expound on it a little bit.
So this universal question of why and the big
Yeah.
decider, right?
Mhm.
So the flow, the function of the instrumentation, and the subtle wavy groove to the record lends well to softer funk. This isn't heavy funk. This doesn't beat you over the head. This is a
Right.
softer, subtle funk. They're refreshing against the polarized structures that hinder music formats today. And they use the saxophone in a variety of tones and deliveries that is almost as if it's vocalizing, which is kind of unique. It's not this filler kind of thing like in an In Excess song where it's like a solo and then it's out. The big decider, whoever that is, according to the band or the recording. Now, see, I'm assuming that it's the very same person who knows the answer to the question why. But then again, I didn't know this was about gambling. The Pauline
Mhm.
song, I
Mhm.
still don't know what that's about.
I don't.
Uh, I was lost there. But again, I listen to a lot of music, so it needs more listen. It needs more
Mhm.
listen. Maybe one of these days we're gonna find out in this how we rank these albums instead of like saying, "Oh, I really like that," we can say, you know, doesn't need another listen. Needs to be filed away. And then we have another one that says needs more listening. It could get better, could get. And then there's one that's like, oh my gosh, on top of your list, but
Mhm.
and then we'd have to find the ones in between. Um, so anyway, it's got they made good decisions if we're talking about this decider, right? They made good decisions. They've got indie rock kind of thing going on in an
Mhm.
environment that's not the same. It's nice to know that the Zootons have been saved from extinction, apparently. The sum of their parts, which is themselves, which is a groove unison formula that gets the best out of them, and that works for all of us. So I would recommend. I think people should take a little listen to it and get in. And it's like I said, it doesn't hit you over the head, but it's got the groove. That's cool. All right, so now let's go to Detroit. Let's get down to it. When I saw this album cover, I kind of went, huh, tabula rasa. I think that's some sort of statement, in the grand psychology of shit. Do I believe it that we all start from nothing? Is that I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I don't
So I was intrigued, but I didn't know they were from Detroit. I had no idea when we
know.
picked the album. I didn't even know what to expect, but when it started, it's instrumental, right? So interesting instrumental garage rock band, maybe with progressive tendencies. They've got this noise tempered proggy soundscape, if you catch on and off guard. Um, Begins with a guitar lover's dream scenario, in my opinion. It's all kinds of levels of guitars playing, flinching feedback, progressive tendencies. They sell, and it's almost like they're selling the sizzle and not the steak. They're ramping you up. They're getting it ready, and you're like, ooh, what's going on here? Especially if you're a guitar player, I'm imagining. So, however, there is an album to be named later that does this wrong. Um, so congratulations, The Infinite River, for one of the more unique and interesting and beguiling beginnings for albums in 2024 so far. I wasn't sure what would be coming out next, as the next thing comes out seems like it's got Middle Eastern levels to it. So now I'm like, what am I hearing? Okay, and because there's not a lot of people in this band, so I don't think there's a lot of instruments, but the instruments are certainly being played to some odd
Yeah.
level. There's bass synthesizer. I don't even know what that is. I know I'm a music guy, but I don't know what that is.
Mhm.
Mellotron, I know what that is. I love me some Mellotron. Guitar and bass and acoustic guitar. So, how are they getting all this done? So where do we go from there? It's edgy, beautiful, subtle, moody. And stars above is that's what that is. And from there we get taken up a notch to a different guitar pitch, a completely different drum pattern against a like an environment that kind of reminds you of Genesis. Early Genesis, and Hawkwind. Now, I'm not a Hawkwind aficionado, but I hear it in there. People might think I'm crazy. I don't know. The trio has no problem expressing their cohesiveness, while it appears to us, the listeners, that they're challenging each other. That's how I feel like in the studio, like that's one building on the other. So hell, when we transferred from Astro Cat 9 to be the Cyclone that I need, the punk action guitar and then the soloing got Gretchen and Joey. Now Gretchen's guitar and Joey on the guitar and bass. It got them all caught up, and a great part of the record there, right there for sure for me. But what did Deb get into on this record?
Well, I knew that they were known for hard rock, progressive type stuff, but I found this to be a little bit more jammy. The tracks were shorter than what you would
Yeah, they
expect
weren't
in a
long tracks. Yep.
right, which so you're not getting involved in a 12-minute song. Tabula Rasa, I really thought this band must have some Middle Eastern basis to it because I didn't know them, but as far as that album name, it's actually a Latin word for blank state. It's the idea of individuals being born empty of any built-in mental content so that all knowledge comes from later perceptions or sensory experiences. And this album was very sensory for sure. So fitting, but who's going to know what the hell that means unless you look up the Google, okay? Um, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I again didn't listen to it enough, but I'm going to tell you when this one particular song came on, I just stopped in the middle of what I was doing. I'm like, what are they playing? Favorite things from Sound of Music. I went, what is happening here? So that made it more interesting for me. I'm going to go back and listen to this album again just because of that, because it threw me. I was like, where did that come from? And one of those guys must have loved the Sound of Music, probably loved, Sunday night after NFL football, being able to watch the Sound of Music, but they're not that old.
No.
No, they're not that old. But yeah, that's my take on them. I don't know any of their other albums, so I'd be interested to hear them now after what you've said.
Yeah, and then there is a harmonized singing moment too in this album, and which struck me as like, did you?
Mm.
They go, let's try it. Oh yeah, we'll leave it, but let's not go back there. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it's interesting to know. I believe that we're all way too familiar with my favorite things. We
Yeah.
are okay. If they would have, I liken that to them doing "And I Will Always Love You." Put that in there.
Yeah. It was strange.
If,
It was really
if you're
strange.
going to do it, put it as a hidden track at the very end where they just discover this wild, weird. It's not even weirdly done, really. It's kind of
No,
just
I was going to
done,
say
right?
it should have a total different arrangement to it where
Yeah.
you go, I know that song. How do I know it? Not all of a sudden, where's Julie Andrews?
Yeah. And maybe if they could have done some of that, all of
Yeah.
a sudden Julie Andrews, like she comes in and goes, turn that shit down. Um, at times you feel in this record too that there's like a late 70s movie vibe to it.
Yeah.
And I was like waiting for Charles Bronson to come out and shoot somebody. Okay, so that's the old Detroit kind of thing, right? That's my
Mhm.
thinking. And of course, in my writing there, I go, come on, work with me. Then you're transported into noisy progressive rock, but there's, like I said, she did say that shorter songs, they're not elongated. It's jammy is kind of the word, maybe. But there's a pace and piece to the contemporary guitar work too. There's nothing born empty about this band or their sound, and they're definitely worthy of instrumentalist appreciators to be given a listen to, as well as those that are like a little something different in their prog. If you want flute and stuff, it's not there. There's no. But the Mellotron does add some interesting glitches and twitches to the whole thing. The Infinite River has a lot of great things going for them, and the sky's the limit there. So, all right. So, wow, gotta get to 3 extras here, right? So,
Yeah.
well, we decided those, right? So
Yep.
I'm gonna start off with the easiest one that was decided because I already knew who they were, what they were about. I mean, the other one too. There's another guy in there. So we start off with Vampire Weekend and their new album, Only God Was Above Us. I didn't pay attention to the title. I just kind of, oh, it's Vampire Weekend. Good. This'll have all kinds of musical crud going on and studio tricks of the trade and everything. So so immediately I'm struck by the title. Finally, after listening to it the first time, it's past tense. So, but what happened to me at this was the first part of the first song was so tune disorienting, and I had a very hard time listening past it for some reason. So I went through the album, but all I kept remembering was if you're going to start an album, why would you do that to the listener? It starts off screechy. It starts off,
Yeah.
but then halfway through the song, all of a sudden the melody's there, everything is there. I don't even know why or what. I don't remember the lyrics. All I remember is being like, you had, like Sting says, you got 30 seconds to
Mhm.
leave an impression on me, to hook me. Why are you thinking I'm gonna like I know, oh, I can't wait to see where this is going. No, put me where I'm going. And
Mhm.
then do some crazy shit afterwards or whatever the hell you want to do. So I had to go back again and listen to it this morning on my ride to work, where I heard that song again to start and then started to go back. And then the piano in here is the marvelous thing that it should be.
Yeah.
And there's really wonderful songs in this. So over to Deb.
Yeah, I've always loved them, so I had the same feeling. I was so excited to listen to this album, and I just went, "What is happening? This isn't the band that I knew and loved." So I had the same kind of feeling. I thought, "Oh God, is this going to be like this for the next 2 hours of my life, listening to this a couple times?" Um, and it was funny because they had Arraign as being um touted as the most annoying band. Um, and I went for a time in their history, and I thought, well, I guess maybe somebody figured that they would write a song like this at some point, so let's call them that to begin with. But they were touted that because they actually were all enrolled in Columbia, and they kind of had this presence of wearing their expensive boat shoes and iron slacks, and people were like, "Oh my God, get out of here! You're not a real band." Um, and then the name Vampire Weekend actually comes from an indie film that Koenig worked on when he was going to Columbia.
Oh,
That
I was going to
never,
Columbia.
yeah, yeah, all the
No, I didn't
film
know
is
that.
cutting on the floor, never actually got completed.
Okay.
And their influences are the Clash and Talking Heads and Paul Simon, and so yeah, this album, the same thing for me. I had to forget about that beginning of that first song. I only listened to it once. Um, but I liked the songs Connect and then Prep School Gangsters. I just like the name of that. And I thought of my son going to St. Joe's, my gangsta boy, and my redheaded white gangsta boy at the prep school. So the title of that track kind of caught me, but I like the song as well. So yeah, I would say, yeah, let me revisit that and give it some more chance for sure.
Yeah, they're the first track is called Ice Cream Piano, and
Hmm.
I think the idea is ice cream piano, maybe is um I
Maybe.
classical is fantastically produced and done, the classical
Yeah.
piano being part of it and how it feeds the lyrical
Yeah.
moments, and very much. I mean, obviously that's if that is the single that led this, I don't pay attention to singles, but I'm assuming it would be very
Mm.
well done. But Prep School Gangsters, I love the even in the way it's delivered in the song is underscored a bit to
Yeah.
because gangsters wouldn't be all up in it. They would be like
Yeah, they're cool.
yeah, and it's a quick listen. Except the last song I think was long if I remember correctly, like a
Yeah.
little bit in the 8 minutes maybe. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess there's a Japanese bonus that has a broken washing machine on it and another acoustic as an acoustic version of Gen X Cops, which kind of falls under the same. It what was I saying? I thought it was it had a little bit of calypso to it.
Yeah. Hmm. I feel
In how
that.
it
Yep.
was done. So, and that kind of works with, what did you say, The Clash? No, what did they,
Yeah, The Clash. That was
The
one of their
Clash. So that's
influences. Yep.
Calypso police kind of thing going on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
it's a good record. It needs more love and affection. I mean, Vampire Weekend's last record I touted pretty good. It was on my in my list, not maybe last year, but the year before. I can't remember. It's got a world on the cover. Um, boy, I'm starting to lose my memory. That's good. Right up there.
You got to forget the bad things, though, not the good things.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Right, right. All right. So that's Vampire Weekend, a decent record. I think anybody who's a Vampire Weekend fan, just give that first song, take it with a grain of salt, and well, half of it, not the whole song, just half of it. I don't. This man, if you're going to start.
Yes.
All right. So on to another hard listen. Ed
Yeah.
Harcourt's El Magnifico. It's amazing to me that a band of this nature and unpredictability just doesn't. He's been doing this a while. I was expecting something. First of all, is the cover fuzzy, not in
Yeah.
focus or something? It seemed that to
Yeah.
me. So I lost lyrics when I was trying to hear it. But I love some of the bleak instrumentation. I like the downplay of certain things. I like the emotive feel of the record. So
Hmm.
I feel like I have to go back because I didn't get it. I wasn't in the
Yeah.
right frame of mind. I was expecting, but he brings in Greg Dooley. Okay, this is the guy from Afghan Wigs, and I'm all in on the Afghan Wigs,
I don't
right?
know
And
that,
his
but I love that name.
underutilized, the song does not. I was expecting some driving sexual tension kind of thing because that's the Afghan Wigs pretty much. So, but it didn't go there for me. I was a little bit taken that this album wasn't where I thought it should be production wise, but maybe it was produced that way on purpose. So, how did you handle this one?
Well, I mean, it was easy to listen to in the background, but I didn't find anything real catchy about it that made me stop. Um, I looked at his influences, Tom Waits, Jeff Buckley, and Hoagie Carmichael. Now, that is an interesting influence to have. Uh, Cole Porter gave him the feel for what the importance of lyrics are, but I didn't find anything in this album as lyrically interesting, but I, again, didn't dissect things. Um,
There are some things in there. There's a lot,
okay.
but again, swallowing of word, the delivery timing, like I don't know,
Yeah.
if it was done for effect. Production wise, didn't lift that above the din.
I might die unsatisfied and unresolved. We could be deathless. Just say the word. I've been brokering some shady deals for us.
The
Okay.
din.
Yeah.
There were. Listen to all you producers out there, and I don't know anything about production. It's like somebody who writes a book. All right, you're you're not writing it for yourself. If you are, poop on you. Right?
Yeah.
You're writing it for everybody else. So if I'm in my car and I can't hear it because
Yeah.
of the road, then you've done something wrong.
Yes.
I can't be
Yes.
listening all the time in this environment of no outside noise.
Yeah.
I would love to be, but that's why I think the Mutt Langs of the world. Actually, I should have mentioned Mutt Lang in the first one with the Better Than Ezra. If he
Yeah.
produced a Better Than Ezra album, he'd say, "Hey, we need some harsh harmony, kind of
Yeah.
give me that Def
Cowbell.
Leppard kind of thing right here," you know. But I think take that under even Neil Young's Harvest Moon, which is a very quiet record, or Emmylou Harris or Joni Mitchell. Their sound quality is there, the production is there to
Hmm.
make it rise above that. I might have to turn it up a bit, but on this, I was like, I don't know.
Well, I know,
Lost it.
didn't he compose some film scores? And I don't know if when you're in that wheelhouse of composing film scores are kind of underneath the story itself and what you're looking at and what
Mhm.
you're paying attention to as far it should be kind of blended in and not really unless you're what it's some grandiose scene. So I don't know if that's where that comes from as far as why it wasn't as forward with what you were trying to hear.
Thought for sure you were going to go to Deathless.
Oh
Deathless is
yeah,
the
that
right,
yeah.
but there are fantastic lyrics on Ghost Ship. I thought,
Yeah,
yeah, just some of the anvils and hammers. There's a section of that I was like, okay, this is Ed Harcourt. And
yeah.
with new stuff going on, but I just yeah, but it didn't reach me as much as I was hoping. But then again,
Mm,
I probably need to do this. Remember, he is an acquired taste. He's
hmm
not, be on that usual recording list that you're going to listen to. And in defense of those production people out there and everything else, I have been at front row of many, 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 many concerts in front of sound stages, and who knows how bad my hearing actually really is. My wife probably thinks it's astoundingly bad.
We'll have to have her join and give
Yeah,
her.
well, hey, so, and now finally, the one we've been touting and talking about, but for just, I don't get to do that's your band name anymore right now. So maybe it'll come back around again. But so the band's name is Ghost Piss, and the album name is Dream Girl. Now, when you think of Ghost Piss, and you probably think of it often, I don't think you do. Uh, you're probably thinking this is going to be psychedelic, hard rock, metalcore, doom metal, avant. Oh yeah, gonna nope, 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 nope,
Mm-mm.
nope. What we have here is if this is your dream girl, well, it comes with the title and vinegar and then some. You've got this pop, ethereal tune vocal that seems like it's coming from this small woman or girl who is relatively happy at being relatively unhappy. And then you've got bass, club, I don't know, pop. And you're like, what? And
Seriously.
it's fuck some of this and fuck some of that. And
I don't give a fuck about hardcore. I just give a fuck about a good night's sleep. I don't give a fuck about your punk shit. I'm in bed by 11 every night of the week.
so she's got a little bit of a potty mouth, and maybe that's your cup of tea, or your cup of piss. I don't know, but I was shocked. I was hoping the Grateful Dead would, or the Grateful Dude would have been on the
I
show because
know.
I would love to know what a man of his stature thinks of a band called Ghost Piss. But Deb, where were you when well, first of all, yeah, when I said this, that was the first one I said, we're listening to this, and we had no idea.
No, we didn't. It was like shocking. And of course, when you gave me the list, this was the first one you listed, so it was the first one I listened to. And I thought, all right, well, I'm not so mad at him because I thought it
Right.
was going to be scary. Um, and the title of the band comes from such an interesting story, and
Ah,
I'm glad that you didn't knock this off the list because I had to share this with everybody. So she and a friend, after being out, and they were quite stoned, went
okay.
to a haunted Cracker Barrel. It was known to be a haunted Cracker Barrel. She asked the manager how the person died there. And after telling a very sad, tragic story, it ended up that this man was choking on grits and died and fell into a urinal. And her stoned ass friend said, "Damn, Ghost Piss. So the name of the band started as a joke. So she obviously has a good sense of humor, I would say, even though some of her darkness or weirdness, you could maybe feel a little bit of depression in certain things, but she's got a sense of humor, and even though it started as a joke, it stuck. So she's like, people now know me as Ghost Piss. I got to stick with it, and it's a great story to tell. It had some nice layered vocals in it. I didn't mind it. It was pleasurable enough. Maybe it was pleasurable because I was expecting it to be awful. So maybe it wasn't that pleasurable. Maybe if you had told me listen to, you know, uh Fragrant Violets was the name of the band, I might not have liked it so much. It's really nothing I'd go back to. There weren't any songs that stuck out for me, nothing that really made a mark on me. Because I only did listen to it once, and once I learned the name of the band and where it came from, that was the highlight for me. So I wanted to keep it right there.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It wasn't displeasurable. It had moments. There was how the sounds were put together and stuff. I missed, if she is that sense of humor, I missed it somewhat
Mhm.
because I'm the age I'm at probably, and they're at the age they're at.
Yes.
I suggest maybe the next album reach a little bit more, maybe songs from the Cracker Barrel. Not, and I was expecting that the person choked on an apple because there's apple in everything in that goddamn place. But
You're right.
and the apple baby had the. So yeah. Anyway, 6 albums for you out there. What did you think of these albums? Did you listen to them? Let us know after you've listened to them. I do love the comments. People are commenting. It's been great. Some of the guys that love the discussions, and he says, "Why sometimes I don't like the songs or the bands or the albums." He goes, "There I found some," and he goes, "I don't have time to go scouring the internet for all these
Mhm.
bands," and I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea here. I'd love to do more, but time is, I used to listen. Well, I got to do something to alleviate my troubles. So it's
Yes.
more music, more music, right? So we will see you. I thank Deb for joining me to
You're welcome.
this album review Saturday. As hopefully she'll always be able to, unless there's something in the way. But we will see you next weekend, and one of the albums is Point 4. Check us out on beyondyourradio.com. Articles there and links to all the shows. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, of course. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thanks for watching. Happy listening.
Bye.